Hello and welcome to Stampscapes Friday Night Live. I have a 5x7 pre-folded card base here. It's a matte. And it's something that I've used before in scenes. Looks like this. Can't believe this whole pack of 25 was $4.50 on clearance 10 years ago or something like that. But I've done a lot of cards on this type of paper before. Not too often, but periodically over the years. And I thought I would try it with the city streets imagery. All right, so that's going to be kind of a different type of thing here because the imagery that I think looks pretty good on this type of dark card base are more kind of solid style, silhouette styles of imagery because they can stand out against this background. But this city streets type of imagery, there's a lot of open spaces. It's real linear. There's not a lot of solid types of forms within there. So I don't know if it's going to show up at all. Okay, so that being said, my strategy here is to get kind of, I'm going to do this where the scene is stamped. Let me see, which side should I use here. The scene is going to be this way, horizontal, and it's going to go up here so that when someone opens the card up, like this will be like a nighttime sky type of thing. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in, not completely, but I'm going to get this white varied background in here where it looks like a kind of a cloudy type of night situation, but also having some of that light of the Brilliance ink laid down here. I'll be able to see more of these forms in here. And if this works out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make those rooftops a little bit more snowy looking with additional white pigment ink, white acrylic ink. In theory, it should be fun, but I don't know. In application, it might be a nightmare. Hello, Linda. Hello, Zale. Good to see you. Uh-oh, are there some fires going on in BC? I haven't been watching the news. All right, I loaded up my, not completely, but I did re-ink my white here, knowing that I'll be using a decent amount of it here. All right, so let's see what we can do here. Okay, so this area down right in here is going to be the street, like right in here. However high it goes up, but it's going to be, we're going to be using a base like something like that. Now, in theory, what we want this to be is a little bit more varied so that it'll look like, kind of like different lighting effects on the structures, okay? And let me get my bearings here. Okay, this is going to be right here. So from about here up, it's going to be the sky, because this image right here. Well, no, I guess it goes right up to this edge here on the 5 inches. So right here and up, we'll make this clouds. Okay, so I tend to do this kind of diagonal application of clouds in most of my scenes. I don't know. I usually don't do it straight across, so I'm going to do something like this. And this right here will be the opening. I'm thinking about putting a moon right in here. Southern BC is, oh my gosh. I remember the fires. It wasn't last year, was it? Was it a couple years ago when it was really bad? It wasn't just last year, was it? Now I'm thinking about it. All the areas that are burning now for holiday, we are further north. Huh. And I hope it stays that way. every time these days, anytime I pass by any type of houses that are near or in down here, like chaparral areas, open space, I'm thinking, my immediate thought these days is like homeowners insurance for those residents. I know they would have to be on this thing called California Fair Plan, because no other insurance agencies would cover, homes as far as fire goes. All right, so that's my clouds right there. It's a little bit blobby right there, so I'll try to vary that some. We're just freehanding it right now, as you can see. But then I'll try to give these areas a little bit more form with a torn paper technique. Yeah. It's too bad about that, about being next. You didn't have to worry about these things, I don't know, historically. Maybe a little bit, but it's like so much more extreme these days. My homeowner's insurance and I know it's been a long time, but it's just gone up so much, like exponentially, it seems. But I remember my yearly homeowner's insurance was $450 or something like that. And even at that time, though, a lot of the majors wouldn't carry me. But it was no problem finding other carriers. And then, over the years, it was like, okay, you had to, they were getting stricter, so based on satellite imagery, you might, they could see where you are in relation to open space. And, I don't know, I think I've been dropped a couple times, but one time you can petition the agency, and they would physically send someone out and do a report. And then I don't know, one time I was reinstated. That was like a gazillion years ago. All right, so there we go, like that. I don't like that right in there. My applications of on this type of with this type of process, it's real blobby and not even. Oh, right, Zale. Yeah, I hope you're good through the rest of the year. Well, really forever, of course, but it's like for us, we're in some heat right now, and there was a fire. Where was there a fire? There was a fire somewhere in the San Diego area, but nowhere close to us. But our big thing, it isn't so much during the summertime, it's whenever we have these Santa Ana winds, which are really strong offshore winds. It's like super dry, and that's when there's a lot of issues. These days, though, I think it's a lot of like arson. It's like people have set these things, be it accidentally or just some nutcase. All right, filling in right over here. This is a process on this paper. Yeah, I was thinking, I like this process, but whenever I'm using this type of paper and doing this type of technique, the card really it doesn't really look good until like the final couple steps, you know, because everything's kind of muddled. And then you add in those crisp elements, you know, to contrast against all that, and that's when it tends to come together. And there are a lot of times, because I don't do this too often, and I forget about some of the process of how things look, or maybe how bad they can look too, you know, maybe that's more accurate during the entire process. And then it's like I can see things kind of starting to come together in the last, I don't know, couple steps. But I do like the end results, though, of, you know, this type of process. I mean, I guess it's one of those things where there are certain types of processes that really make you aware of certain types of aspects of creating space. And this one, you're never so aware of, you know, kind of light, you know, because we're usually working on, maybe not me these days, but we're usually working on white pieces of paper where we're just defining darkness. And light is kind of defined by, you know, because we keep adding color and things like that. And, you know, things start, usually just get darker and darker. I add in like highlights, but this is like adding in a huge area of light into a space. Okay, see this right here. I always have to kind of find which way the grain of the paper towel is going. And then if you tear against the grain, you'll get a little bit more of like a rounded type of varied form, where if you rip it the other way, it's too straight of a line. So find that whatever paper towel grain. Okay, so let's add a little bit more definition right here to some clouds. Okay. Oops, that's really blobby. And you can kind of move this around too. You don't have to, it doesn't have to really stay stationary. I'm kind of bringing this up a little bit as I go. Okay, that little notch right there is real, is a little bit too defined. Here, I'll take that out of there so I won't get too many of those. Okay, I'll add in more later on, but usually after I add that in there like that, what I'll do is I'll come back like this, and I'll just kind of soften that edge a little bit, or whatever, as needed. Yeah, yeah. I was thinking about that too. Lightning strikes. I think we were supposed to get a little bit of that monsoon type of flow out here. There might be some happening in the local deserts, the high deserts around here, like Joshua Tree. I'm not sure though. I think I saw a post on Facebook that they might have been getting some of that, or I don't know. It was in the forecast. I do love the look of that that monsoon type of I don't know what do you call them, thunderheads or whatever, or just rain in the summertime. I don't see it too often where I've lived, but I've seen it a couple times in the past. It was really cool, where there you can see lightning and like super defined cloud systems. And one time in the local mountains, I think I took my son camping with one of his friends, and there was this cloud system that came in, and it was so thick, you can see it right in front of you, like going through the bushes, but it was almost like a whiteout condition. And visually, it was really cool. But the thing is that the thing that occurred to me in that time was there was the sound was different, just because it was so the moisture was so thick in the air. Everything seemed really muffled. Okay, this is going to be my street in here, so I'm going to give it like a little bit of definition or change of lighting, where it's like light, dark, I think. I think it's going to look like that in there. I'm trying to visualize it, but... All right, so that's, that was a lot of the work right there when you're filling in, this gigantic amount of space with, this white pigment ink like that. I've mentioned this before on, probably on this paper, but mostly it's like when I'm doing this type of thing, background, which I do a lot on the printable holographic vinyl sticker paper, where it doesn't really matter if it gets a little blobby like that, because when you stamp your imagery over it, then you go back in and you color and all that. That's not going to matter too much, about getting like a really super smooth application. So it's not something that I usually try for. I try to get decent applications like up here in the clouds, like that. But if I don't, then I just hit it again with some additional pigment ink, or we can go into it and we can define some forms with a little bit of the acrylic paint pen too. So, all right. So hopefully right now I'm going to get a decent impression on top of this. This is the time when I wish I had a stamp positioner. Because right now, what's going through my head is I'm wondering if I should go with the hybrid black ink, which is a little bit thinner than the pigment ink, just straight pigment ink. Hybrid's part pigment and part dye. I think I better go with the thickest one. So let's go with just straight pigment ink. Because you can see this paper here, I mean, it's not coated or anything. It's real textured. You can see the texturing in there. So I'm guessing that the more, the thicker the ink, the more chance I have of getting it into those grooves. When I make the impression, we'll re-ink this a pretty decent amount here. Hello, Laura. Yeah, very warm. You're probably warmer than us, right? Are you like over 100 right now? Or well over 100? For us out here in San Diego, I know it's getting hotter. I think it was hotter next week, too. Hello, Zealous Zest. Good to see you, Lori. Hello, Linda D. Ah, Linda D, good to see you. I always ask you, but what time is it there for you? All right. This is the cafe stamp, and we'll position right down here. I'm just wondering if I went light enough in there. I think so. But we shall see. I don't expect this image to come out super defined. You know, on top of this varied background like that, it's kind of dark and light. But the thing that I thought could be fun, and I've done it a little bit with like the cozy cabins, I think, and just kind of bringing out the rooftop. I think it was. Was it that one or is it the covered bridge? I don't remember. But I thought the forms on this cafe that has a lot more like vertical spaces, like the umbrellas and rooftops. Some of the different planes on the walls might be fun to kind of bring out with light media. So pastel pencil, pigment, ink, and acrylic paint. We'll see. Okay, well, it's not too bad. You know, we can see what it is. It's kind of gray. It's like a 85, I don't know, 85% gray or something like that. Let me see. See, there's still quite a bit of ink on this stamp here. There's still even more now. So, okay, I wasn't going to wait an extra 5 minutes for that thing to, you know, to transfer, but it just comes to show you, you know. So this is like a textural thing, and this white pigment ink also might be a little bit wet still. So if you do this and you want to get a darker impression, just keep that in mind. You know, you can heat set this or something like that, or just let it set up a little bit more before you stamp into it. All right, other side of the street, going like this. Boy, there's a lot of ink on there. Okay, I'm going to have this one going up into the sky a little bit more. I'm stamping it low, but it probably goes a little bit higher in comparison to this cafe across the way. Perspective-wise. $109. Oh my gosh. 104. According to the house's weather station. Huh. think I would probably lean towards your house's weather station, right? Okay. I wonder why the end of that came out a lot. Maybe there's like a blob of ink there at the end. Alright, but that's what we have right there. I'm going to put in my cobbled road down here. Like this. It'll be like this, though. And then we'll put another addition out here, like at the end of the street type of thing. Someone did the not the cafe one, but the other streetscape imagery in a winter scenario with like snowy rooftops, and they sent me like an email with that. It's like, oh, I don't think I've done that yet. I'm gonna have to try it. Okay, this is going right here, so I'm gonna stamp this, and it's gonna be going over some of those chairs here. So I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna wipe or dab this off a little bit, where I think, yeah, right there, it will be stamping over those chairs. Actually, I'll take off a little bit off the most of the left and right and top sides. I'm gonna have it going off the paper here, so I don't need to worry about that. Oh, how much higher are you, Laura? Are you like 1,000 feet higher? I forgot what that I forgot what that formula used to be for that I heard for elevation and temperature. I thought it was something like it was supposed to be like 10 degrees, but I never found that to be the case per every 1,000 feet. You know, when you go hiking, you know, you're supposed to kind of, you know, make sure you factor all of that in, you know, so that you dress accordingly. But I always thought it was something like, I always thought it was more like 5 degrees. All right. Okay, this is the smaller cobbles. And I'm just going to extend this a little bit right in here. So I only inked up about 1/4 inch or so. Okay. And all right, so this issue right here was the impetus for coming out with these other types of urban, you know, landscape imagery. I'm gonna put this in. That will fit right there. I'd want this one though, because it's bigger and it would fill up more space from left to right. But that little top part's gonna go off the top. Let's here. I'm gonna do that. It'd be cool if that thing kind of just ended right there, but I don't know. I think this size-wise is gonna fit better in this scenario here. it's occurred to me that I think I need more, a little bit more variety on my acrylic blocks, size-wise. $400 feet. Okay. I was out in Las Vegas hiking in that Red Rock Canyon area. This is way back in, gosh, when was it? October? I don't even remember. Um, or is it more recent than that? Maybe it's like February. Gosh, I can't even remember. But they were having a little bit of a heat wave, and it was probably, I don't know if it was 100. I think it was upper mid 90s though. And then Red Rock Canyon, that parking lot, I think it was like 1 or 2 thousand feet higher, and that made all the difference, and made that area out there, completely hikeable. I think it was maybe 80, if that. It might have been upper 70s. All right, that there. And I've got this space in here that I don't like having that just like that. I think I'm going to put some trees right in that space. I don't want these trunks though. I just want a little bit of foliage, like right there. Maybe flanking that cathedral. Look like this. It's not a careful mask. I'm probably going to have a big gap in between this imagery and the buildings, but we can just fill that in. You have a lot of them over the years, Linda. I thought I had some additional ones. I thought I had like 2 sets of blocks, because I applied the tack and peel to one set, and then I'm pretty sure I have another set somewhere, but they were like the same sizes though. But I was looking for those. I especially want like a large one, another large, super large one, because this one with my tack and peel on it, I can't really see through that anymore, very well, at least. All right, so that's our foundation right there. Now, if I would have thought about this scene, like, before, like 5 minutes before this live stream, I would have had all that cloud area, or maybe this entire thing stamped out. But I didn't think about that. All right. I think that moon will go in here somewhere. I'll use glow in the dark. But here's all my forms in here. So I want to really define a lot of these objects in here, and maybe we'll make, this kind of snow in here too. I know we see the cobbled street like that, and you wouldn't, that would be the area that would be completely covered up with snow, but I don't know, we can call it I usually like texture in my scenes, and I tend to think that it looks better with it than just doing this blanket, you know, like 1 foot of snow over everything where you can't really see anything very well. So we can call it like, I don't know, whatever. Maybe it's the first snow of the year or something like that, and some of it's burnt off, so you can still see some of the texturing, but you still get some of that, you know, lighter effects in here. That type of scenario. So, that being said, let's define some of these areas like that. I just use a couple pieces of paper typically for structures. And all right, so like right here would be a good place to kind of bring out a little bit more lighting and, you know, whatever, snowfall buildup. So that's would be my masking for that edge of that sloping rooftop right there. And I'll sacrifice some of the texturing in here that's on the design just to get that variation, so we could start, what I call it, turning the objects in space. So for a two-dimensional thing, you're just making it look a little bit more three-dimensional with changes of value. So right here it'd be the rooftop, getting more light. I need to heat set this. I'm picking up that black there. I thought it was dry, but stamping that black into that, I'm picking up all that. I'm muddying up that area there with gray tones. All right, let's see how that, if that was adequate. That pigment ink, that black pigment ink was so thick. It's a faster drying pigment ink too, but it's still a little bit wet. But we're just gonna go with it here. All right, so see that overhang there is a lot lighter, and this is where I'm able to see the imagery a lot more than if I just stamped it directly on top of that dark blue right there. I don't know if I'd be able to see these little rooftop forms. Now, I mean, I know the stamps, of course, but this is just, it's still easier for me to see what I'm doing in this more of a little bit of a lightened area. And I don't know, this might really stand out a lot too. Adding this white in here, if I didn't put in that white kind of base coat background like that. Okay, so see this, just kind of going around and picking out the forms on here. I don't know, kind of the sloping areas, the roof that would be top lit from you know, the sky and what will be the moon. Okay. as this pigment ink dries, it gets a little bit darker. I can see it getting darker right before my eyes, just after like a few seconds. So if you need to add another coat, just go in and do so based on how it's looking. And I'll give these, it looks real fuzzy and soft. I'll give it a crisper edge, you know, with the acrylic paint pen. Okay, let me see if I can get those steps in there. They're really narrow, but if I can just come like, maybe like this. Maybe a Q-tip, huh? Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know if I would have gotten as dark of an impression, though, with the hybrid ink. You know, going with a thicker ink, that thicker black, it got into the grooves, but on the other hand, you know, it's drying slower, so I know it's a trade-off. And but that being said, you know, if I'm just doing this, you know, not in a live stream, you know, I'm just allowing this to set up, you know, and going back to it, you know. So the fact that I'm having to kind of do this right away, you know, kind of probably makes a difference here. Ew, I'm getting really muddled in here even with this. We'll come back and do that with an acrylic paint pen. So I'll redefine that area there with, you know, colored pencil. So I got real muddled right there. But where's my black colored pencil? There, repaired. All right, let's get these other forms in here. Okay, see, I'm gonna lose all that, whatever that, I don't know, whatever you call it, slats or something, up here. But let's do some that area right in there with all that black. We'll see if it's dry enough. Yeah, I think the heat gun did the job decently. Okay, some of these things I'm bringing that lighting from the bottom up. I'll do it from the top down here on this one too. That, and all right, these umbrellas I'm sure wouldn't be out like during the winter time, but I don't know, they got an unseasonably odd little snow flurry this night, maybe. Okay. The more I can do with this, it's just going to save me more time when I start going in here with like a acrylic paint pen. So if I can block out large areas with this, I'm going to do this first. what's going through my head is, this is kind of like the focal point of the scene, so I should probably illuminate that somewhat. Let's do this here. Let's put some lighting on the left side of these rounded forms, in theory. Okay. There's so much little detail on them. I'm just kind of... I don't want to block off too much of it, but just getting a little bit of light in there I think would be good. Here, I'll try like this. I'll just kind of make it a little bit lighter in one area, like that. Yeah, that's really too much. All right. And let's see. Let's bring in some lighting on top of these little trees there. You can't really see that one in there, but this one right here could use some. Go back to the torn paper towel again. This is where things start getting kind of like really kind of wacky in terms of the visuals, because everything's becoming like super muddled for me. And things look a lot better when I start bringing in the, start defining the forms traditionally. We'll see if it works out with this one with so many kind of open things. That's why I always, when I'm doing this, I'm usually using that tree trunk. The tree trunks, tree trunk and tree trunk trio. Big thick trunks, I need big, bold, kind of dark shapes in here. And that doesn't exist in this imagery, so we'll see if we can kind of pull something off here where we can utilize this type of paper and technique with this imagery. I mean, I'm sure it could be done. It's just a matter of like, okay, how much work is it going to go into it? Okay, that looks better back in there. Let's see. Let me bring out some of these forms of these houses too. The walls right in here. Maybe. Oh, we can illuminate the interiors of the windows here too. All right, so just kind of defining those edges of those walls where, goes off into this 90-degree angle. And let's see here. I want these little figures to be walking in here too, so I'm going to make an area in here a little bit lighter. So when I stamp those people in here, we'll be able to see them a little bit more instead of them being against darkness. Oh, I could have used the street lights in here too. All right, so that's what that looks like. Let me bring in some of that white just so I can see some different values. And that's going to be a space up here, I think, that will utilize one of our moons. Too smaller. Let's go big. That looks really weird in contrast to everything else that's going on in this scene right now. It'd be even better if it was like rising from behind the clouds. I would have to like trim this or something like that and slip it behind there though for that to work. I think right here. All right, so I'm putting that there right now just so I can get somewhat of a reference for reflected lighting in the scene. I'm going to try it with the try doing some things with the pastel pencil first, being that this is you know, some matte cardstock. I'm usually doing this on something a lot smoother, my pastel pencil, but I think the pastel pencil could potentially work in here. Maybe not. Maybe because I've laid down so much pigment ink on here, it's not. I'm not really going on. I'm not applying this on cardstock anymore. In fact, I'm kind of. I think I'm removing. As I apply this, it's working like a plastic. I don't know. Tool, and it's like I'm scraping off the white that I've applied there. Okay, that's not gonna work. All right, let's see. Let's start going in and defining some of this lighting here. I'm gonna do my windows here first. That'd be kind of interesting, though. Speaking of inks and on this, you can probably, could we? Would we be able to emboss on this paper, or is it too textured? You see all that texture on there. I wonder if embossing would work. I can barely see these windows over here, so it's like I'm kind of like I'm making them up. Okay. That's probably like this stained glass right there. Now this really stands out, so I'll be going and trying to blend a little bit after this. It's hard for me to see these windows in here, but like I said, you can just kind of make it up, you know? It's like you stamp it again, and at some other time it's like, oh, there wasn't a window there, but I mean, who cares? Okay, is this like, there's lanterns here too, yeah. All right. So those are all the windows in there, and a couple street lamp type things. And then I'll start defining a little bit more of this with a little bit more reflected light with the paint pen. I'm getting a little sketchier, you know, with this acrylic paint pen than I used to. I used to do everything with stippling, but I'm trying to get more, bring a little bit more gesture into my pieces. So, I don't know, whatever, lately. I don't think I've done cross hatching with it, but I might try that at some point in time. I was never much of a cross hatcher, even, you know, even like drawing wise though. So the places where I'm doing things, there's like, if I can zoom in, it'd be, you can see this better, but there's like trim around the windows and things like that. And I'm adding like these little, like that little mark right there, for example, on that piece of trim, that kind of brings it out a little bit more. So like on the edges too, that'd be a good spot to go, like this. And with this paint pen, what I'm doing is I'm not going like too much vertical like this. I have it on its side. And I feel like I can get, unless this thing's like flowing like crazy, which it was like on one of these live streams. I think when it was like, I was using it for the first time, it was like brand new. Sometimes I think this tip here gets, you know, there's this hole that's inherent, but if I'm using this on its side, I think it gets squished down a little bit more. And I think the flow is a little bit slower or more varied if I do that to it. But you might be able to get, see, I'm picking up some of that black pigment is going into the tip here too. But you might be able to get more of a kind of a varied line if you kind of manipulate that tip a little bit from the initial opening. It might not flow as good, but for our purpose, if we're kind of drawing with it, it's I don't know. It seems like it serves its purpose a little bit better. So here's this trim around this window right here. There's so many angles on this image. I've never done so much like twirling, but you can see these rooftops starting to come out a little bit more and see like the definition in the design where it just, it kind of starts off real muddled with this type of technique, but then you start bringing out the forms and details a little bit more. Yeah. The forms are kind of they're kind of coming around from the background, aren't they, Linda? Oh my gosh, there's all these little chairs down here too that kind of get lost in the background. So I can do this little edge on them. Here's this table here. I don't want to get too crazy because then it can look like super busy, but I'll probably go back over this with some pigment ink too and make it look like a foggier type of atmosphere or whatever. Deanna Tub Studio did a that cafe thing. I think she colored these not trees, but these chairs in here. I think they were green or something like that. That looked really cool. Okay, here's those steps again. Like that. So you kind of illuminate steps and things like that, things that are kind of leading to something. Speaking of that, those are steps right in here, and I can't see them at all because they're really small. But we can come in here and just kind of give a little bit of definition to them like that. And we'll redefine some of these bushes in here that let me see if I can use my pastel on some of these areas. Yeah. Okay, so in some of these areas I don't have like a lot of white. It's just stamped directly on top of like a semi-dark card. This is working for in there. I don't want to do everything stippling wise. It would look kind of weird on those forms. Okay, this pastel pencils are actually working too pretty good. I think I was just trying it on an area where I just had caked on a bunch of white pigment ink, so it just didn't work. Putting highlights on top of the pastel. See, these highlights would really stand out. I mean, they stand out already, but just, it would stand out real, you know, almost like too much without that pastel pencil. Now, I could have added this in and added the pastel over the top of it too, but just to get some kind of intermediate color in there between, you know, white and, you know, kind of a medium, darker tone blue is good. This piece is starting to turn into like one of Jeannie Siegel's pieces, where it's with Jeannie, her finishes are so elaborate. It's just as much kind of drawing and painting as it is, you know, just the stamping and traditional stamp finishing. She does a lot of like brush work, so it's like really painterly looking. All right, I think what I want to do while we're kind of adding in this definition is I want to get some of those people stamped in here. Let's go with this couple right here. Okay, let's go with the hybrid one this time. I need to get these people stamped out because I need them to dry a little bit before I come over it with the, you know, some additional white pigment ink. Not super dark, but let's see here. Now that I have this cafe stamp, I want to do that cafe stamp in the background with one of the figures from the previous release. I have this girl on this bicycle with a bunch of flowers in her basket, and another one carrying some. I want this imagery right here with those figures. I don't know if maybe multiple figures in the street or something like that. I'm not sure. right. That. And, like I said, they're not dark enough for me. Oh, glad you like it, Angela. Good to see you. All right, now see, they're not dark enough for me. So I'm just going to come in with my colored pencil, and I'll just vary them a little bit, or I'll, enhance the value of them, darken the value. I don't have to get all of it, though. I just want some of it. Some of their forms, part of their forms, just to be a little bit darker. So I don't know. It probably bumped it up about, I don't know, like 5% or something like that. So you can get a little bit of that, claim a little bit more value like that. Okay, now see, one of the things that we can do here is we have that moonlight in here. I'm going back to, or I don't know, I didn't do any coloring with this yet, did I? Or shading. So we're going to create more of the shadow for our images like this. I'm kind of carrying the shadows out this way a little bit to the right, as the moonlight is a little bit to the left. It's almost overhead, but it's just slightly so. One of the things you can do is you can tweak your shadows a little bit instead of just, coming down this way, or like that would be like just an overhead shadow, but this one, you go like that and you kind of tail it off a little bit like that. These people have this umbrella here. All right, let me anchor down some of the forms here. Here's this little umbrella here. And you can give a little bit more definition to some of these forms. This cathedral in the distance, we can put a little bit, we can anchor that down slightly. I don't want to go too dark. There would be a shadow out here, but if I bring the shadow down too far, you won't be able to see the silhouette of their heads as much. So we'll have just a little bit of tone like that. See, like just that little bit right there. So everything's kind of has a little bit more visual weight or something. And then my highlighting here with the pigmenting wasn't great. Just because the forms are so narrow. So I did a wider application of that white pigmenting, but then I just go back in and I can just redefine the forms in here with this, colored pencil. And see a shading underneath that. Yeah. And that's more, I don't know, whatever, defined. And like this one right here. So you can refine all of your applications of, different media. And then if you go over it with too much of this, you can just bring in somewhere of that white pigmenting and just reapply it or whatever you want to do, to get it how you want it to go or be. See, like the side of this building right here, the front of it right here, I'm just kind of defining it more by darkening this area right in here. So we put the highlight right next to that building right there, but you can also just darken that side too. This is like an ASMR live video, by the way. It's their little umbrella right there. If you just joined in, this is a pre-folded 5x7. If you're wondering, what the heck is that going across there? This is a pre-folded card, so, it's going to be looking like this, and then, people can open it up and, you get this full sky type of scenario. Coming around. There's this little planter box underneath this window right here too. I can't really see it, so I'm just kind of making it up. And same thing right here. And there's a couple little lamps in here, and I want to differentiate everything else that's going on a little bit with like a little bit of a different texture, I think. Well, it's good to see you, though, Linda. Thanks for joining in. All right, so that's like a little street lamp right there, and then these two are like little lamps flanking this doorway. Not that that really matters. You can kind of put a lamp wherever you want, but we're gonna lightly dab in some tone with a cotton ball like that, make that look a little bit more kind of diffused like that. And right here too. Like that. I should really make them, I don't know, we should do like, in all these windows right here, I should make these areas a little bit like a warm tone, huh? Should we do that? It'll just take like, I don't know, 30 seconds. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow. Just to give it a little bit of a different touch, I think. Or not touch, I don't know, it's really specifically temperature. I won't do it like everywhere where I put white in the windows, but we'll just do a little bit. See that little touch in there? I did it over like half of them, like in this one right here. That's like a stained glass type of window, I think. So that's why it's all kind of broken up like that. See that little touch in there? There's a little bit of a warmth. You can see the difference between these ones and these ones over here. So, um, I don't know if it wakes up those windows, but it's just, I don't know, it's a different, a little bit of a different, kind of spirit. I don't know, kind of a warmer interior when you have these kind of warmer touches like that. It's like in the world of what is it, LED now. Of course, fluorescent lights too. That was like even colder because you can get those different tone LEDs, or you can set it for whatever you want. Let me do something here too. There's these little bushes in here. I'm not gonna do too much of this, but here's this little bit of green. I say, hey, Kevin, it's, this is supposed to be like a wintry thing. There would be all that green. It's like it was like an early dusting of snow in this situation here this night. All right, I don't know if you can see it in here, but there's just a slight touch of that. The street in here like that, it gets a little boring, doesn't it? So let's add in, what's missing is there's all these crisp little elements everywhere, but then here's this corridor leading us up there, but there isn't any kind of, I don't know, whatever. There's no textural range in here. It's all the same. So this here gives the road here a nice textural range that's kind of a little bit more shimmery too, in the moonlight. So you have these little extra reflective touches in here. This, and you can say it gets kind of darker down here, so you can spread the dots out, and then those lighter areas like this around the our pedestrians, you can kind of condense a little bit more of those dots like that, so it looks a little bit more shimmery like that. We'll put a little bit more shimmer on to these rooftops. I don't know, maybe it's a little bit of ice or something. Oh my God. I just read that comment on the barrel Prismacolors. Found in an art garage sale. A new box. Okay. My second thought was, okay, how much was that? $8. Yeah. Did you get it? It was definitely a bargain. Especially for the barrel Prismacolors, right? So that was like something that someone bought. I don't know. When did Barrel stop, the brand stop making it? Yeah, what a find. You have a choice. You can use those Prismacolors, or you can probably, make a decent profit off of it too if you wanted to sell it. Like there's some people on those like colored pencil forums, you know, like really serious colored pencil artists that would probably, you know, love to have some additional barrel Prismacolors. Because once they were out of them, they were out of them. All right, so getting a little bit more defined here and there, and we have these clouds up here. I don't think I need to go in and do too much more, but see on some of these areas right in here, you can kind of add that. I don't know, it's like it's not silver, but you know, it looks a little bit more reflective like that. That silver lining like that. And you can look and see where you got a little bit lighter with the pigment ink. And a lot of it's, you know, just not by design. It just happens to be the way that it came out at that time. So what you do is you just reiterate it with some additional highlights like that. And I think it looks pretty decent as far as, you know, an additional touch. I see all these little dots in here, and what I'm going to do on this piece is I think I'm just going to splatter paint this whole thing too. And I think that will bring a little bit more, whatever, unification into the scenario. I think it looks okay like this, but I think kind of this overall texturing in here might be a nice kind of finishing touch. Here's these people right here, and I can adding a little highlight on our figures like that. All right, so let's do a little bit more pigment ink here and there. We'll bring it like a little bit of a haze to some areas in here, and then we'll splatter paint. Put some pink, red, and green in the castle windows. Oh, that would be pretty cool. I think I would do that on a white piece of paper, though, more than this one, Laura. I don't know. What do you think? I think on this one right here, I don't know if it would show. It's so dark. I mean, that's the point. Maybe it'd be like more subtle. It'd be cool if there was like a bigger stained glass thing right here, like Notre Dame or something like that, and then we put that in there. You know, that'd be cool. Or if we had something bigger like that, wouldn't that be cool? You stamp it out here, but then you stamp out this whatever section you want on the holographic paper, you know, and then you cut it out and then you stick it right there. I mean, that would really stand out. But I don't know. I think that would be the point of that. But something like that would be really cool. All right, I'm trying to make this a little bit more narrow. I'm squeezing this off like this. And see what... Put these people walking in a little bit of a fog. Like this. This is going in and doing something too. We have all this as a foundation in here. And then if you stamp your imagery and you put a little bit of this in front of the imagery, it kind of envelops there's this illusion of it enveloping our objects in that same type of cloudy type of form. So I think it becomes a little bit more kinesthetic, when things are, it's like a, it being enveloped by this kind of, illuminated light, so. It can bring in, it can introduce a little bit more of that, the feeling of touch into, an otherwise visual. I mean, it's still touch, but it's, it looks more textural. And the forms are kind of, like I said, enveloped in this light. And I think when we do that, we add a little bit more kind of emotional content into the piece. It could be very subtle or whatever. Maybe not too much on the rooftop. There, it's behind the rooftop now. All right. Sanford, yeah. I wasn't even aware, of this whole thing with the art industry. I've become a lot more aware of things in the art industry over the past few years because I've been using more media. A lot of it was my old media that I pulled out of my art supply, my school art supplies. So like the pastel pencil that white pastel pencil that I don't know somewhere here. Yeah, that Carbothello, and the the Prismacolors, but yeah, I wasn't aware of the brand changes and the buyouts and all that that had gone on in the art industry. That art industry, boy, it's almost it seems like a real volatile, kind of ever changing industry. As far as a lot of the what I thought were very established brands, just changing hands. But it might seem that way, it probably happened over 30 years where it wasn't, maybe it's not so volatile as hey, that Prismacolor thing happened, 25 years ago for all I know. And then the next thing, happened, I don't know, whatever, a big paint brand or something like that, changed hands. It might have been 10 years ago or something like that. So it might be every few years. But I just hadn't looked at it, a lot of those things. Are companies in decades, so I don't know. It's all kind of surprising to me. My technical pens that I use, the Rotring Rapidographs, that Rotring brand, at least the Rapidographs are no longer being made by Rotring. All right, so white watercolor paint, Dr. P.H. Martin's. I never would know which way this is going to splatter. Sometimes it seems like it's splattering behind the brush, and sometimes it's going out that way. Now, as I'm doing this, I'm only releasing a few little hairs here. I don't usually don't machine gun it like this all the way down. It's usually just, I'm kind of doing this little thing, maybe an eighth of an inch movement, and then I just keep going back. I have a little bit more control that way. right. So some of those could represent stars. Some of them are, you know, whatever, snowfall. And let me do this too. Let's heat set this a little bit. I'm reading that barrel Prismacolor, Prismacolor history there. Okay, so that's interesting. So when I bought my pack of Prismacolors, that was like 80, that was around at 86. So that was the last of that there. When Empire? But it was it, okay, so it was still called Barrel though at the time, right? In that 95, huh? Sanford, okay. I think some people were saying that they felt that the formula had changed though. But is the Prismacolor still kind of known as the kind of a little bit more the softer brand than the other types? What was the other? There was Prismacolor, Barrel Prisma. When I was buying it, there was Barrel Prismacolors. Was the other one? What does that say? It starts with an H, right? I can't remember the other brand that was out there. I bought the cheaper one though at the time. Okay, I'm gonna make some of these little dots in here. I'm gonna make them little stars or something. I don't know. That maybe they're too dinky though. Here, I need to add in. Like a larger center dot there to differentiate it a little bit. I mean, it could be snowfall too. I was thinking maybe that would look good coming through here. I'm going to add in a few little larger dots. Boy, that's hard to add the dot over the top of that thick white pigment ink there. All right, let's give this a try here. Oh, great to see you, Linda. Art graphic design involved a lot of mixed media. That's when a lot of those good brands are out there for sure, huh? Did we talk about this before? But were you getting a lot of did you get a lot of like Letraset stuff back in the early, like in the late 70s, early 80s? I was in high school, but I'd pick up those Letraset yearly catalogs and like drool over them. And every now and then I would go and buy, whenever I could and had the money, I would go and buy those rub-on letters. Or whatever, sheets of them. All right. So there we go, like that. See these little kind of dots like that, and kind of mixing it up like that. Yeah, there's one right there. It's like adding another kind of layer of things over the top of this, just like the splatter painting is, and it tends to unify things a little bit more, especially with all that kind of, you know, stuff that I did in there that kind of on its own or doesn't really look good. It doesn't really look good as like a out in front type of touch or technique, but then you splatter paint things over the top of it. You put a little mist in front of it, and then there's like these little, you know, little glowing little elements like that. And what it does is it pushes back, you know, these other things that I did in there that kind of stand out a little bit, you know, kind of awkwardly on their own. But then, yeah, it's like I'm not burying it because everything is still there if you see it, but there's all these other layers kind of going on in there, so it kind of unifies things a little bit more. You know, where some of those other kind of, you know, kind of awkwardly applied techniques don't stand out like a sore thumb as much because there's like all kinds of other, you know, it's amongst like 10 sore thumbs now instead of like one, you know, that stands out too awkwardly. Let's see here. Daughter's 50th party tonight. Ah, it's a stamping party at Linda's place tonight. Someone used to call stamping parties. Oh, it was a stamp slam. I remember seeing photographs of that. So where people just put out like a bunch of stamps on a table, and they put up stamp pads and paper, and people just come over and stamp. Yeah, I never did it before, but I've seen photographs of it before. Wax. Colored pencil hoarder. Hamel. I can't remember the name of that. Or was it Fabric? It wasn't Fabric Castell, right? With those other colored pencils. The lead is very thin. eBay selling this one. I got $129, but you're keeping. Okay. Thick lead from 82. Yeah. I'm guessing my lead's, I don't know, pretty thick. But, you know, again, I don't have those other ones. The thing, the watercolor pencils, I'm thinking that, now I have this whole Derwent thing right here. And I think some of the different colors have a different density, but I think if I was to find it, because eventually I'm going to have to pick up another pack of colored pencils, but if it doesn't have the softness that I need, I think I'm just going to use my or buy another thing of watercolor pencil. I just use that Derwent one there. But I think the Derwent's, the watercolor pencils seem fairly soft. And it's because a lot of times I'm using the colored pencil. My favorite use is coloring the brilliance applied printable holographics. So I need that colored pencil to be really soft so that it will apply to that. Otherwise, it's the harder ones are kind of digging up the, or just not applying at all to that holographic cardstock. Even some of the barrels, even some of the ones in my pack don't work because the density is just too hard. I'm trying to find one right here. But yeah, like this one right here. Those are all the colored pencils used, like on the, these structures right here. Because I just stamped these structures directly onto the white Brilliance Applied Pigment ink. So this application right here is the one that I want. The one that I really love colored pencils for. I mean, using colored pencils everywhere, like on all these other papers here too. But, I just assume have that, the like one pack that's kind of universal and I can use it on different types of surfaces, rather than having, going out and buying two different, packs for different purposes or something like that. But like I said, I have the watercolor pencils anyways, which I have no idea when I got this too. The Derwents. This one might have been like a raffle prize that I got from this one store that had just opened up. He had moved into a new location, and I don't know. I won it. It was one of those colored pencil packs. I don't know. I don't know if it was that one or something else, but anyway. Let's see here. Glad you like it, Linda. A winter scene. It was good to kind of get back to one of these pieces right here. I guess on these folded cards here too, I'm always kind of undecided, I usually do it like this, front and then back like this. I usually don't do like horizontal like this, but this could be the card like that opens up this way. Or this could be like this. Maybe not anymore with that mess there. But you could put the sentiment right here, and then someone does one of these things like this, and here's the interior like that. Maybe that'd be a grander kind of experience like that. It's not exactly a horizon card, but yeah. You can use like a one-word quote, one-word stamp up there too. Winter. But yeah, and I don't know, maybe it's, see, having in these pre-folded cards like this too, if I did this one as a, this is 7-inch, this would be 10 by 7. If I did this as a 10 by 7 without having it pre-folded, I just don't know if I'd want to put the fold in that card at that point in time, but I don't mind, but since it's a pre-folded card, it's meant for that. But yeah, I don't think I'd have the heart to put a crease in a finished piece like this, So anyway, it's kind of fun doing the pre-folded cards like this and having that back to front, or in this case, top to bottom type of thing. And again, you can use it on the interior or the exterior in those cases. Faber-Castell. I think maybe that was the Faber-Castell, the other brand of colored pencils. I'm sure I had it on my supply list for some kind of it was probably like a beginning drawing class. And I've said this in the past, but I didn't use those for years because, and then we probably used it for one thing, one drawing in college, and then I never used them again. Like in all of my studies through my senior year, we weren't using colored pencils. And then I didn't use them in stamping because I was mostly using glossy cardstock for so many years, like decades. And I pulled them out, I think, when I started doing stuff on the semi-gloss. And it's like, oh, these are pretty fun, So, yeah. So most of my pencils are, I don't know, they're somewhere in between. But you can see there's a lot of colors that I just haven't used. So, I'm not using reds very often, but like blues and things like that, a lot. So, yeah. So at some point in time, I'll be paying attention to colored pencils a lot more, or I'll just maybe I should just go out and buy like the ones that I'm using up all the time because these things last like years. I would get like a probably two of this 905. Is that what it says? Aquamarine. I love that color right there. I use it in everything. Um, you know, if I can find it in my Prismacolor thing, because now it's below that front area. It's like crayons in kindergarten and first grade class, The stubby ones were the ones that you always used the most of, where like, I don't know, whatever, it was like gray or something like that, it was always like unused or something, A couple of those different colors out there. Same thing with the Copics. I probably need to buy like that color blue in a Copic marker. A lighter, I would go with the lighter value with that one, but kind of that same type of blue and get the re-inker for it. I'm using those ones all the time. Yeah. I don't, yeah, I think that sounds familiar, chroma pencils, but yeah, I really don't know what that is. Or I haven't looked into those ones. That sounds familiar though. Rexel Derwent watercolor pencils. Yeah, yeah. Those watercolor pencils work pretty good as colored pencils. I haven't used them with that water reactive, kind of what their purpose is for too much. I do that in the those like Chinese ink style looking ones where I'll shade with the black, watercolor pencil, and then I'll, give it a washy look to give it more of like a painterly look. But I haven't done enough experimenting with all the other colors. Like that set is like brand new, so I don't know. I should experiment with more of that type of look. I love watercolor paintings and that real spontaneous spirit. It's like the opposite of what my drawings usually are, that are like super. You know what I mean? It's like they're all about like being super detailed and things like that, and tight and rendered like that. So I love seeing kind of the opposite spirit of that with more of a kind of a washier look in watercolors. So I really admire people that are really good at watercolors. That's something that I was never good at. And I've seen it too with people do those washy types of looks with like alcohol inks and things like that. I love that look. Uh, yeah. Probably because I wish I had it in my repertoire. Non-photo blue. Oh, yeah, non-reproduction blue. That's right. That is kind of that color, huh? Yeah. Non-repro blue. I think I have some of those. Yeah, this is a non-repro pen right here. I used to have a lot of those because I used to do all of my layouts for my plates. I would have to use that non-repro. I wonder if this thing even. Yeah, it still works. This is probably like 30 years old. I haven't touched it. But yeah, you're exactly right. That's like that color right there. Yeah. For anyone that doesn't know, it's a non-reproduction blue. You can put this color blue on layouts, and like the camera won't pick it up. It won't read it, so you can put all kinds of notations, or you can do your layouts with that type of blue color. And yeah, it's like the camera won't pick it up. So things like grid work types of things and everything, it was all done in that kind of light blue, like that specific type of light blue. But it's real similar to like this one right here. You're bringing back all kinds of memories here in this chat right here. You're taking me back to art supplies and printing types of things, and lettre set, press on letters. Everything is, I do use, we have to go with the digital type of things these days for all of my like camera work and plate layouts and things like that. But I do miss the hands-on, kinesthetic process of I don't know, everything. I guess, stamping's all that way too, but even like everything that used to go into, the production of rubber stamps used to all be hard copy things, advertisements that you're sending into Rubber Stamp Madness, I would get photo stats made of the lettering and send all that type of stuff into the physical things like that into any type of print advertisement. So waxers and things like that. Man, yeah. Fun stuff. I wouldn't go back to it now, but I sure enjoyed all that type of stuff. Darkroom things, photography. Yeah. Aquamarine 905 is your set. Is that what? Okay, that's a 905. This one has that old kind of text here, that style of text that was, probably popular in the 80s or something like that. Okay. Yeah, 905. Yeah, I need to get on to, I don't know if they have it on Amazon, but I'll have to check out Dick Blick or something like that. Albert Dürer, favorite watercolor pencils. That's a Faber-Castell. That's a Dürer watercolor pencil, they call it? Is that like a line or something like that? I have that gigantic Dürer book. Are you the one that mentioned that before? I've got that gigantic book like within arm's reach of Dürer. Used to love seeing those prints and engravings. It's a hard media watercolor. Okay, wet on wet. All right. You don't need more pencils. Pens or pencils, huh? Does your husband do anything like your husband doesn't do, does he have any hobbies or anything like that? If he's in one of those hobbies that they're always going out and trying to get new gear, like fishing or I don't know, whatever, hunting and or golf, Those are the types of husbands that typically don't say anything to the art, crafting spouses or something like that, because they don't want to be told not to get anything themselves. That's redundant. Oh, by the way, this thing, that moon right there, is a glow-in-the-dark moon. Let me see if I can throw off a couple lights here. Let me charge this one up here and take a look at this before we sign off. My lights here aren't super bright, but I have a bunch of them. Let me see if the... All right, we got camera compensation, but there you have it there. Okay, yeah, my camera's compensating and exposing a lot more, but that moon right there is a lot greener. It's like everything's compensating like way too much. Hey, you can kind of get the gist of it there with that moon and the glow-in-the-dark aspect of it. Here, sometimes I can adjust here. A little bit. Okay, yeah, I adjusted the exposure on my camera. It's a lot more green though. The green is like this color green. I don't know, not exactly, but it's a much deeper green here up, in person. You can see all the the glow-in-the-dark sticker paper right there. So anyways, yeah, it's pretty fun. Every time I start using those glow-in-the-dark full moons, I can't do a scene without it. Until I force myself out of it. It'd be fun. I wouldn't do it here, but it'd be fun to do like a building with all of these things, these windows in here, as glow-in-the-dark too. But yeah, it's a little bit more work than I would do. Oh, and the yeah, the rubber stamp history group. Awesome. Yeah. I love the nostalgia of it too. But the thing about that, the Facebook. Okay, if anyone's not in the Facebook, I started a group called Rubber Stamping History, just so that people can post up stuff like old catalogs of or photographs of stores and conventions, because there's no place to see that out there, like on the internet. Sometimes some stores were around like for 20 years, and there's like zero information or photos or anything like that. Conventions, and you can go to Facebook if you're on that platform, and go into rubber stamping history. But people are there's catalogs in there, and I don't know, a lot of people are looking for stamps sometimes. It's like, hey, I'm posting in here because it's rubber stamping history, but does anyone know what company made the stamps? So there's stuff like that, and it always starts like some kind of dialogue about these companies, and all kind of other things going down memory lane. But anyway, fun stuff. And there's the Stampscapes Facebook group. Linda keeps that in tip-top shape and running along smoothly. There's challenges once in a while. But thanks for checking out this. What kind of technique is this? Dark blue paper technique. Experiment. That's the most highlighting I've ever done with the white pigment ink before. Like I said, I usually do like large, solid tree trunks. With this one, there's a little bit more work with all the little rooftops and things like that. But I like the way it looks, It looks different in terms of these images. So, I don't know. Pretty fun. Art of Noor, thanks for joining in and checking it out. Have a good week, Bonnie. All right, everyone. Hope you have a great rest of evening. And thanks again for checking out the live and for tuning in to the Stampscapes channel. Hope to see you next time.